Hey, shalom everyone. This is Amir Tsarfati and I'm live from Osaka in Japan. I know it's Wednesday evening in America and it's already morning here in Asia. But the news are coming all the way regarding an attack on Iran that was canceled by President Trump. Israeli attack that President Trump basically decided not to allow next month. And I wanted to clarify everything because, of course, it's making big news all across the world. So again, I'm here in Osaka. We're going to have a huge event this Saturday, huge in Japanese terms. Of course, we're expecting 500 people here. But again, the news that the New York Times broke just a few hours ago, and it's all over Israeli sites and also in America, are basically that President Trump decided or told Israel that they cannot attack as early as next month the main Iranian nuclear sites due to his will to exhaust the negotiations option first, the deal first. By the way, this is not, it's big news for the New York Times, and let me make it very clear. The New York Times will never report something with good conscience. What they do, they report, and they do the same thing as the Haaretz newspaper in Israel. They are progressive left, so everything they report is to first and foremost harm the regime that is conservative. If the regime would have been liberal like the previous one, they would have said different things. But so for the, you have to understand to begin with, who is reporting and how they report. When Netanyahu was invited to the White House urgently a couple weeks ago, this is exactly what he heard from President Trump. He wasn't surprised at the Oval Office when President Trump said, we're going for direct talks with Iran. He knew that President Trump took the decision, and President Trump wanted to explain to Netanyahu why he is going that route. There are two major camps in the U.S. administration right now. There is the more dovish and the more hawkish. The dovish is, we're talking about Hegseth, and we're talking about Vice President, and apparently the President, of course, saying, let's first exhaust the efforts for a deal. And then we can always go to the other option. The more hawkish is Mike Waltz and Rubio. This is exactly why the Iranians didn't want Rubio to conduct the negotiations with them, because they knew exactly what a hardliner he is when it comes to the nuclear program. So President Trump made up his mind. That's what a leader does. I mean, you have two options and you have to decide. Decision is sometimes not easy, but you have to make it. And he decided, I'm going to give a chance to a deal that the Iranians may not like, but they probably will prefer it over a war. And so the negotiations right now are basically on complete halt of all Iranian nuclear activity, which means all nuclear activity, not some. That means all centrifuges will have to stop. All sites will have to be dormant. All uranium, enriched uranium will have to leave Iranian soil. And you know that this is the deal because the Iranians began a barrage of leaks saying, we will never give up our right to enrich uranium. We will never do this. This is our right, blah, 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 all of that. President Trump simultaneously is sending unprecedented forces to the Middle East and to Israel. Just yesterday alone, 5 large U.S. military cargo planes landed in Nevatim Air Base with more and more anti-missile defense systems and more bombs and some weapons. So basically, we are watching an interesting thing where they're walking towards negotiations with the knowledge that it would be probably 98% sure that the Iranians will not accept the terms. And therefore, for the 2% they might accept it, President Trump is willing to give it a few more weeks. Now, why am I saying weeks and I'm not saying months and I'm not saying years? You need to understand something. The Iranians have time. That's something Trump doesn't have, or we don't have. The Iranians have time. They are totalitarian dictatorship that will crush all opposition, kill people, lock them up, torture them, and hang them in the city square. That's not a democracy. So they know that as far as they're concerned, they know how to remain in power. But they know another thing. Trump might not stay president 3 years from now, or 3.5 years from now. So all they need to do, and Netanyahu might not be prime minister 2 years from now. All they need to do right now is to stall, is to drag their feet, is to say, okay, let's talk today, let's talk next week. There was a misunderstanding, so 2 weeks from now, we'll get back to you, and 3 months from now, we'll may be able to do this, and 5 months from now. This is their tactic. So Netanyahu, when he came to Washington, and he heard that Trump made up his mind about going first to try a deal. Trump basically said to Netanyahu, look, I'm willing to let you attack and I will assist you, but let's first go and exhaust this option. Netanyahu gave them all of his tips of how to handle with the Iranians because he knows exactly how they do things. So one of the reasons the New York Times leaked this information, A, is to weaken Netanyahu. B, is to tell the world that Trump is afraid of war. C, is to embolden the Iranians. Embolden the Iranians. And why am I saying that? And but that's why liberal left always hate their country more, hate the leaders more than they love their country. You have to understand that. So basically, what I'm trying to say is the New York Times report is not trying to just report, because everyone in Israel knew that as long as America is negotiating with Iran, there will not be Israeli strike. I mean, we're not that stupid. In fact, in order to achieve a real good result in attacking Natanz and Fordo and other sites, we need U.S. help in satellite, in help us to get more bunker busters, bombs that are penetrating deeper and deeper. Because, one bomb, bunker busting bomb, can get to a certain depth, but then you need to go again deeper and deeper because the sites are much deeper than what a bomb can reach. So you need to have several rounds. So basically, every time you hear something that the New York Times report, take it with a grain of salt. Put on yourself the glasses of these are liberal, progressive, stupid America haters. Israel haters for sure, but they're Americans and they hate America. And all they do is they're trying to tell the Iranians, the attack is not on the table. Go ahead and stay tough. Okay? President Trump, however, is telling everyone, every day almost, the option of military action is on the table. He even said a few days ago that Israel will lead it, but America will assist. The plans were for doing that somewhere in the month of May, next month. The plans were to pass Ramadan and pass Passover and Easter and all of that and reach to the month of May and get there. I'm not going to go into details because it's not for the public, I guess. But whoever needs to know in Israel about a strike in Iran already know exactly all the details. We all knew that from the moment Netanyahu was invited to the White House, it's because plans have changed. Trump decided to give the negotiations a try. The first round was disastrous because the Iranians not only didn't come with, any intention to show flexibility, they came with some stupid demands that no one would even think about fulfilling. So basically, Trump already understands that they're doing exactly what Netanyahu told him that they're going to do. They're doing it. They're playing it by the book. These Iranians, they know the art of the deal. They invented the chess. You can say a lot of things about the Ayatollahs and, the Iranian Islamic Republic, but one thing they know how to fool stupid, retarded, liberal, progressive. They know how to fool them. They've done that already, and thankfully we pull out of the deal, but they're trying to do it again. So we see an effort right now to portray Netanyahu as weak and to portray America as we changed our tone and to embolden the Iranians to stay strong because the option of attack is no longer on the table. That's what it's all about. Let me tell you this. If there is one thing Netanyahu will not go home before he does is making sure those sites are gone. And if there's one thing Trump will be remembered forever for is if Iran acquires a nuclear weapon. And he knows that. So what I'm trying to say here is the reports are true. Trump asked Netanyahu not to pull the trigger next month because he wants to. But the reports are not exactly with clean conscience, because these reports could have been reported 2 weeks ago. In light of the negotiations, a plan would be postponed, blah, blah, blah. But they're saying it now at the eve of the second round of the talks because they know it will serve the interests of the Iranians and it will portray Trump and Netanyahu as weak or maybe even scared to attack Iran. Last thing I want you to know is that, and we've been saying that for a long time. You're probably asking, how come you say Iran will have a bomb in 2 weeks and they still don't have it? It's very simple. Iran knows that if they will have the bomb now, they're trying. Let me put it this way: they never stopped their efforts. There's a lot of unexplained earthquakes lately in the area of Natanz, and there's a lot of unexplained things that are happening around. They're trying. They're not there yet. They do have enough 60% enriched uranium, which can easily, within 2 weeks, become weapon graded, or less than 2 weeks, weapon graded. They already have enough to even work with what they have with the 60%. But you need to understand, you need at least 85% in order to be with weapon graded, unless you want dirty bombs, and that's something else, and then you can use what you have already. Okay? But what I want you to understand, folks, is that for the Iranians to reach the bomb would mean that this is it. They have taken the path of self-destruction, basically, because no one will allow them to keep it, and even in the price of having a nuclear disaster in Iran if we attack. So I believe that the Iranians are hesitant about all of this because they want one thing. They want Netanyahu and Trump to be gone So whatever they'll do will go quietly without any military action taken against them. They know that Europe is weak. They know that you can easily buy them, especially now. They know that Russia is their friend. They know that China would gladly do business with them. The biggest problem for Iran right now is Netanyahu and Trump. And so they count on the liberals, progressive liberals in Israel and in America to topple the two regimes, or to at least not vote for them again. So they will reach a point where they can do whatever they want. So the window that we have right now is a window of literally months. If you ask me, it's actually weeks. I believe that we are going to see amazing things throughout the next 6 to 8 weeks. And I believe that the trip of President Trump to Saudi Arabia next month, and maybe even to other places, is largely connected to the efforts to bring an end to the Iranian nuclear program. Saudi Arabia is super afraid of Iran. You need to understand something. If there is one country Iran hates more than they hate Israel they hate. It's an ideological thing, but it's not a religious commandment for them as much as a religious commandment for them to rule the Islamic world. They need to be the leader of the Islamic world in order to dictate Islam all over the world. And for them, Saudi Arabia is a great, great enemy that they need to get rid of. The Saudis already felt the hand of Iran when they attacked them in their oil installations of Aramco, of the Arab-American corporation in Saudi Arabia, during the last term of President Trump. So the Saudis need to know that Iran is no longer a power that can reach nuclear weapon. All the rest of the Sunni countries need to know that Iran is diffused. And one by one, like dominoes parts, they will fall from the effort to bring about an end to Israel and actually be added to the Abraham Accords to have, if not peace, at least normalization with Israel. We're talking about, Saudi Arabia. We're talking about maybe Oman. President Trump called the Omani leader yesterday. And we're talking about Syria and Lebanon, and we're talking about also Indonesia, the largest Muslim country on planet Earth. So remember, when you hear reports from the New York Times, always, always, always remember. Same thing with Haaretz in Israel. Haaretz in Israel is anti-Semitic. Let me tell you something. These are people who don't care about Israel. They care about toppling Netanyahu and completely erase the Jewish identity of the land of the Jews in Israel. They hate anything that has to do with God in the Bible, but they hate it. So if you rely on Haaretz, you will always quote anti-Israeli things, and you will always say, hey, but it's an Israeli newspaper. No, it's not. It's an Israeli newspaper only by name. But they are liberal progressives controlled by the world elite. They say exactly what they want the world to hear in order to fuel more and more and more hatred against conservatives in Israel and around the world. Same with New York Times. So when the New York Times reports something, take it with a grain of salt, and remember, it's not because they are truly having journalistic integrity. They know when to say it and how to say it, because they want to portray America and Israel as weak, embolden the Iranians, and of course stop the effort of Iran, of us to destroy Iran's nuclear program militarily. I don't see any option but one of two. The Iranians must completely dismantle their program, completely dismantle their program, or they will have to be destroyed militarily. These are the only options, okay? So I'm just telling you that because you're gonna hear a lot. And if you're not following me on Telegram, I'm telling you, go to my Telegram channel, Amir Tsarfati. It has a verification blue mark. It's actually, the handle is Behold Israel channel. But it's under my name, Amir Tsarfati. It has over 616,000 followers. So don't follow fake channels that are contacting people asking for money and crypto and all of that thing. Just don't fall into that. And you're gonna get information. You're gonna get real information. All right, listen, please share this